Yeah, bro. Ready to show force?
We'll join our regularly scheduled program after these messages.
Hey guys, when the mission is over, your mind's still spinning, whether you're about to go on an op or you're about to go to sleep, you don't need all that garbage, all those weird drinks. All you need is Halo. Halo is an odorless, flavorless THC mix that you can mix in whatever drink that you want. So make sure you grab that Halo today, all right? So unless you're operating heavy machinery or driving down the road, make sure you go to drinkhalo.com. Hey guys, this episode was brought to you by T1RX. Now, this pre-workout supplement, I know there's a lot out there, and I've tried probably like 20 or 30 of them, and I'm telling you right now, T1RX was not only created for our tactical community, but it was created by operators for you. So whether you're stacking those wins in your business or you're stacking them plates in the gym, you want to get sliced, diced, jacked, racked, and stacked, get on that T1RX today. Make sure you go grab it today, man. They are mission focused, and I'm telling you right now, if I don't even know if I'm allowed to talk about what all is in it because it's pretty dang incredible stuff. So go check them out right now. All right, so remember, T1RX is built to serve. It's mission ready. So go build your stack today at T1RX.com.
Return you now to your regularly scheduled program.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the Other Than Honorable podcast. It's been long overdue with my man T-Cab over here, big dog.
It has been a while, man. And just for people that don't know, yeah, we know each other for a long time, but we don't really get a chance to sit down and talk, really, and catch up.
But now we're staying in the same hotel. But I didn't want to see T-Cab last night. I had to get my pump on. I snuck out at like midnight to go get a pizza. Then I got back. My girl was like, "You really gonna eat that? You're gonna look bloated next to Tiki House? You're gonna have waterway and stuff?" And I was like, I'm looking at this whole pizza, so I had like one slice and threw it away, man.
Yeah, we by design won't see each other, man. And dude, it has been quite the journey. And I said this, man, and I manifested this a long time ago. That word manifest is kind of fucking lame. It's overused. Yeah. But really, I don't know another word for it because I was in a 4 Legion barracks room, really still in it at the beginning. This mofo was on the run still. I don't even think you were on. You might have been in Thailand, or you were somewhere in kind of a transitional period. And I'm like, look, dude, we got to power through these dark times, figure this shit out, and then it's gonna come back together, man, because we got a lot of parallels. We got a lot of parallels in this story, bro.
Yeah, and I really believe timing is everything. I mean, even my arrest, your French Foreign Legion was timing. I know you didn't want to do it. We were talking to the car right up here, man, that I was like, how did you start over again, bro? Like, I don't think people will understand, like, if they haven't started over, like, multiple times.
Yeah.
Like, from ground zero, it's really hard to, like, compute that in your head, and, man. So I was like, how did you do it, T-Cap? But, man, we've come full circle, and I'm ready to blast off this podcast.
Dude, it hurt starting back over. Like, I had to rebuild myself, really, from the ground back up. And this is brought to you by HP TAC-TRT.com, and that is OTH20. Use that code, man. And you need to rebuild yourself from the ground up, man. Yo, start with your hormones. That's HP TAC-TRT.com. OTH20 is the code, man.
Yeah, let's talk about TRT real quick. You know, when in the SEAL teams, and we're going to talk about the SEALs, but I'm also going to be talking about Rangers, Marines, Green Berets, Delta, all that. But here's the deal. Like, when we were in the teams, man, like, I remember my buddy who went and got tested. He got tested for tests. Yeah. And he was like, it was Hugh, who later passed away. He was like, man, dude, my test levels are 120. I laughed so hard at him. But I was like a wet rat going around. And people don't understand, like, well, is that more stress? This is my team. This is in the teams, man, when I was at SDB. And I laughed at him. He said, go get tested, bro. He goes, go get tested. So I went and got tested. I was like 130, man. And I don't know, that's freaking super, super low, right? Yeah. And so I got on TRT, man, and I actually felt like a wet rat there for a while. And a wet, what do you mean? I felt like, man, you know, the more so people don't understand, like the more stress you're under, the more you're not sleeping. Yeah. You're feeling like you're dragging ass. You got to supplement that, especially at a certain age, man. I was feeling tired, and I got on TRT from the doctor there. Yeah. And pretty much within just a few days. They say it takes 2 weeks, but no, it was like a few.
Were you still active duty and got on TRT?
Still active duty. They were cool with it, huh? A bunch of us.
Man, I should have gone the smart way, because I fucking did it the illegal way and got kicked out for that.
I said, you were jacked, bro. Man, you jacked now.
Well, dude, man, I try to trim up. I got to do some body recomp. I got some extra work to do, man. But in the teams, and people that or kind of know a little bit about my story, but I got kicked out for PED use, man. So I brought a lot of heat on myself with some arrests and some bar fights and some other shenanigans and just drinking too much and being a fucking asshole, really. But that brought heat on me, and I was beating the last case with good attorneys again, bro. I was hemorrhaging cash on like good attorneys, but Navy JAG came down.
They were after you.
I put a target on my back. I was no victim. But they sent it up to the Olympic Testing Center, and they gave me my numbers, and they were not at 100. Let me tell you, they were up there, and I was like, oh, dude, you must have caught me on a low day, bro. No. But they got me good for all the shit, dude. A lot of different stuff. And so then that was zero tolerance, and so that got me booted out. But the smart way would have just been do my blood work and got
the smart way, and I'll tell you, I've blasted multiple cycles in my life. Trend, you name it, and I've done it. I was always a super small dude when I was growing up, and so I wanted to like supplement my life with everything and anything for that validation piece and get jacked as I could. You know me in the teams. I was big.
Yeah, you're pretty big. They used to call him USS Watt.
USS freaking.
Pull him out on the pool deck, dude.
Bro, no joke. Bro, no joke. When I went through pre-bus, I told you when I started, I had to start all over. I went from Marines Blackwater to Navy boot camp. Okay, and as an other service veteran, you go in there, and I decided to pull the trigger. I was like, hey, I'm going all in. When I showed up, I had a beard. I was 240 pounds. 20 the bus. I showed up at 240. They gave me some navy blue sweats, and I had a shaved head and a big beard, you know. And I walked in the front, and this drill instructor looked at me, and he was like, who the hell are you? Drop your bags, drop yourself. And I was like, yo, man, let's go, bro. And I like dropped my stuff, and I went at him. And so my very first night at this boot camp was a disaster. And the chief called me in because I wasn't getting up, man. This little nerd I had put this poncho over my rack. At 4 a.m, the lights would come in. He'd be like, reveille. He'd stick the mop in there. And I'd be like, oh, I'm going to kill you, dog. And I wasn't ready for that transition. And so the chief called me in. Plus, I got in trouble with some girls there, you know, the other recruits and stuff. Well, you had great old angels, helping them shine their boots, you know. Yeah. But they and so the chief called me in there, and he said, hey, Junie, sit down, man, sit down. He was real cool. He was a prior Marine too, but just regular Navy chief. And he set me down, and he's like, look, man, I heard some crazy allegations. And I was like, what's up, chief? I said, they're not true. I guarantee you that. He was like, well, we heard you were, you know, helping this girl like shine her boots, and you were getting kind of close to her. I was like, chief, I didn't even see the girl here, dog. And he's like, well, check this out. He had a screen, a TV, and it came up, and I'm in the I can't remember what they call it, the place where everybody kind of collects, and I'm like helping this girl shine her boots. It was slimy. Like, I thought that was a dude. What? I was like, that's a girl? What do you mean that's a girl? That was a recruit I was helping out. And And he was like, look, it's time to clean up your act, man. And he goes, you got to shave. I know you don't want to be here. I know you don't want to start over, but you got to shave. You got to wake up at 4 a.m. And that really connected with me. And from that moment on, I didn't have any more trouble. But along the pre-buds process, there was a SEAL instructor that came in, and he looked around, and we had our little snack packs. Remember our snack packs? And he was like, Watson, stand up. And I was like, dang, man. And I stood up, and he's like, you are freaking huge, dog. He goes, man, he goes, he said, I wish that you would make it because you'd be a great SEAL. But I'm sorry, bro. I hate to tell you this. You ain't going to make it with that big.
Yeah.
And I sat down. That was pretty to say, damn, he said that. He said, you ain't going to make it. I wish you did. Yeah. We need guys like you, but you ain't going to make it. So I went into buds, man.
Were you just lifting or you just not running or like?
Bro, I wasn't running.
Yeah, you were just coming up. You ride pretty heavy.
I just ride heavy. I was, especially at a younger age, like I think 27, I was pretty big, Jap. And they called me the USS Watson to go through the pool. And because dudes had to get out of my way because I was sinking and like, swimming. But anyways, man.
What does they send you to in Great Lakes? What is that, like? You have prior service, and so they send you to like a holding pattern, putting you in a holding pattern or some shit.
Yeah.
So is this because you had pre-buds, but obviously this was before. So like, were they just holding you there until you're classing up?
Yeah, exactly. So it's true, man. Before you go to pre-buds, if you're a prior Marine or Army cat or even Navy, it's true. You don't have to go through boot camp. And I always heard that, and I was like, I wonder if that's true.
Yeah.
But I didn't have to go through the boot camp, but you still had to go through this 2-month process of
like how to learn how to refold your fucking underwear and all that shit.
So you kind of might as well be in the boot camp, but it wasn't as bad,
Yeah. And then you just classed up with whatever and then started the pipeline.
Yeah, classed up.
So that makes sense, man. Dude, that was
We'll join our regularly scheduled program after these messages.
Man, let me tell you, ghost bed. Sleep so good, it's scary. Man, you want to wake up terrified, bro, because of how good you slept, man? Let me tell you what. Ghost bed, dude. I like that name, too, man. Like that name. Ghostbed.com, promo code OTHER for that solid discount, man. Dude, let me tell you, you and I both know what not sleeping well and not sleeping for days is like, man. Days, weeks. Don't let that psychosis slide in there because you don't have that ghost bed, man.
There's nothing worse than not being able to sleep because you're on some piece of crap mattress.
Grab that ghost bed. Once again, ghostbed.com, promo code OTHER. That's OTHER, man.
Like being suspended in space. Ghost bed.
Revenge is an act of passion. Vengeance is an act of justice. Injuries are revenged. Crimes are avenged. Almost a century ago, big pharmaceutical companies re-engineered medical school curriculum and faculty with one goal: putting profit before progress. Anyone pushing back against the medical matrix they carefully crafted was threatened, silenced, censored, financially ruined, or worse. They are the problem. We are the solution.
You're clear to engage. Initials Mike Juliet Alpha. You're clear to engage with weapons. You're clear to engage with weapons.
Another step out, see how far away he is. Return you now to your regularly scheduled program.
dude, the restarting part, my moment where I was like, dude, I don't know if I'll be able to do this.
Yeah.
Was my life had fallen apart, and I'm knocking on the Legion door now, and I'm in through the gate. Now, people that don't know, to join the Foreign Legion, there's no application, no nothing. You just go knock on the door. You're like Wizard of Oz. You have your bag and your passport, and then I went in on a Sunday night, and bro, I looked up at the sky, man. It was raining, dude. It was October, and I was like, the hunter's full moon. It was just like poetic, and I was just like, God, watch out for me, bro. I don't know what we're doing, but we're going in here. And I went in and I was getting clean off drugs, right? I was, clean my system out, but really like emptying like a ship in the night with no rut. Like I was just finally, I felt like I had a little bit of a heading where I could head, and I kind of was feeling proud about it, but I was still lost, man. I mean, with this was coming off and we'll get into the story, but when I'm, going into Paris coming from Hawaii, and I'm just like, fuck, what am I doing here? I got my whole identity's gone. And so when I went in and I knocked on the door and he said, hey man, I went, Je suis ici pour la Legion. I Googled it, and the dude's like, hey man, take your fucking hat off. I had my hat on. And so that's where it started. But that first night, right, I get in, I do my pull-ups, my little IQ test, and then I'm in civilian clothes, and they put me back in this little barracks room, there was like 2 or 3 barracks rooms in this spot, and it's maybe 20 guys with 5 bunk racks on each side. And I'm in there with a kid from Lithuania, Thailand, a bunch of Ukrainians, 1 Russian from Siberia, and a handful of guys from Nepal, South Africa. In this one, Chad, Cote d'Ivoire, a couple, but just an interesting group of people. And I'm in there and I'll go, oh, dude, and I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, it kind of feels like you're in jail, but kind of feels like you're in the military. And the next morning, when they blew the whistle, and I went, and I got up, because I'd been doing what the hell I want for a lot of years. And I hadn't been waking up to no fucking whistle. And I had my sheet, and there was a certain way you had to roll it, but it was packed, and there was guys all everywhere. And so I went out in the hallway to get some room to roll this sheet. And I remember looking at this sheet, dude, and just the chaos of waking up in a military organization. And now they're yelling at you in a different language. And I went in this, and I held this sheet out. I looked at it, bro, and I just went, am I going to actually fucking do this thing? That was my moment where I went, if I start folding this, then it's on. And I was like, I almost just put it down because I was like, I don't know if I can go back, do this again. I was exhausted. First of all, my spirit and soul was just torched. I had no ass behind me. My confidence was shot. My body was shot. It was just all fucking broken down. And I'm looking at this sheet going, all right, well, and I started folding it, man. And then that's where it all started. But there was a lot of low nights where, and we'll get into some of those stories where I just was like, dude, is this how we're going to build this back up from here?
Yeah, man, there's and I'm so glad you said that. There's these, I was thinking on the plane right here, there's these, there's the valley of the shadow of death that you have to walk through. And at times you're like, dude, I'm never coming back from this. Yeah, I'm just too exhausted. I'm stretched to the max. I've hit too many lows. I've had too many disappointments, betrayal, all this stuff. I had that big fight in the Navy. We're going to get into all this, but I had that big fight in the Navy, and it just wore me out. And by the time I got out of the Navy, man, I was down and out. I can remember walking up the stairs in my house in California, had this beautiful place, and I could hear my body. I could hear my knees cracking. I could hear my body get it. And I was like, is this all I got from the time I served in the military? All this fine, this is the reward? And I have nothing, right? I have a little retirement coming in, and that's about it. And then all of a sudden, one day you're in the deepest, darkest valley. And then the very next day, I remember you calling me, and you were like, and I can remember feeling so down. And TCAV calls me. I mean, we have so many parallels in life we're going to get into, but TCAV called me. He's like, yo, bro, what you doing, dog? And I was like, what's up, man? And you were like, hey, I got this guy, and he's probably going to pay you whatever. And he said he needs the best SEAL out there to come protect him. Well, of course, I wasn't the best. It was just time. I had just got out. I just got out, of course. And of course, I'm here drained, tired, but you had that delusional confidence. You have that, you got to pick yourself back up. And you're like, this guy, John McAfee, he's probably going to pay you whatever. He's going to call you on your cell phone. I never even asked you how you got that contact to contact me. We had a question from the audience about that.
Yeah, dude. John McAfee, bro. It weird how life kind of overlaps. And that's why I truly don't believe in coincidence. No, I
no way.
You said a great quote, man. The man who doesn't believe in destiny doesn't have one.
Right.
But also our destinies intertwine with people. And how I met John McAfee in person. Now, why you met him in person? I met him in person, but there's also overlap because his nephew, I did 3 platoons with. His nephew's a team guy. Yeah, I did 3 platoons with. Now, but I also met John completely independently, and that was our link. And so this is how it works. So I was in the Centurion Lounge in Vegas at like 8 in the morning with 2 chicks. And I was in the teams on felony bail, fighting, about to go to court in a couple months. I just got back from Iraq, so I was pretty much walking the plank, so I was turning and burning. I was going to Vegas with 2 chicks, and we just started our day, and I'm there. I don't know why we went to the Centurion Lounge and not just right out, but we did. And I had my Amex Platinum card, which ended up being smoked. That's gassed down, which that thing's gone. And Amex was not happy with me.
No, well, I've been canceled by so many.
Yeah, and so I was in there, and he walks right up to me, dude. John McAfee walks right up to me, and he goes, hey. And I don't remember why our conversation started. He was drinking Bloody Marys. I was drinking Bloody Marys. And I'm like, hey, man. Hey, he goes, I'm like, hey, I knew who he was. He introduced himself. And I said, bro, you ain't rolling around with security or some shit. He goes, my security's been compromised. He's like, and sometimes, and he's looking around, he goes, it draws too much of an attention, right? Which I'm sure you know him super well. So we just started broing out. We're having fun. And I said, hey, guess what? I know your nephew, and I did 3 platoons with him. He goes, what? And that's how that conversation happened. Now, fast forward a couple years later, John, I get a call from his nephew, and he calls me and says, hey, I know you just got out. My uncle needs some security. Can you do it? I said, no, but I know a guy. So then I connected with John. He has John call me. I called you. And I had John call you. That's how that worked.
That is, well, yeah, dude.
It was just from me knowing his nephew, and then me meeting him independently, so he could attach a name with a face and a validation. That just was by chance, man.
Well, really by chance. It was by ordained. You're the master connector, man. I'll tell you, it's super resourceful, bro. Because like I said, man, I was in a dark place, and then John McAfee calls me, and then I shoot to the moon. Yeah, I go to his house. Now, in that transition process, just like you're looking at that sheet, right? Yeah. And you're like, dude, if I fold this, I'm all in for the next decade, right? And just like with McAfee, when I got there, dude, I was like, get me out of here. I can't handle this.
Yeah.
Like, right,
it's your whole life. You're wrapped back up in it.
Yeah, when you got to start over, when you got to pull the trigger on the next thing, it's so difficult to actually be like, dang, man, I'm here and I got to do this. And he was even saying, I can't pay you that $500 a day. I only pay my Green Berets $250 and all this stuff. And I was like, well, sir, day you can't pay it, I'm out, and we kind of go back and forth with that banner.
Yeah.
And like 2 or 3 weeks after that, man, I started making that big money, and then up in the millions, like later on. And, but life just shot. It was like Mount Everest, man. But let's go back to the French for Alicia, man. Because I had a question from one of the audience, and they said, would you suggest that he's asking you this? Would you suggest he goes to the French for Alicia? And I'm like,
bro, here's what I always tell guys. First of all, it's situation based. Right? I'll talk to guys about this, and I'll be like, hey, I ask them what their life is like. Dude, if you got a lot to lose, it's not the place to go.
Yeah,
it's a place that you look red, grab red. That is your escape hatch, man. And now, if you want to serve, and you are maybe got a felony and some other shit or whatever, something's going on, and you can't get in, and you really want check that box, and you don't have a lot going on in the United States, then yeah, it might be a good idea. So at least you'll be able to kind of get the t-shirt, check the box, and actually feel what it feels like to serve and patrol with a gun and do all that stuff. And look, I don't know, maybe you'll have a great career. They do have commando units there and stuff. I always say just expectation management's important. If you're trying to go be Rambo and have some high-speed shit, you're not getting it there. Just like any military, a lot of it's mundane, and it's not special forces, right? It's not special operations. It's highly trained infantry. So you're shark shit on the bottom of the ocean for the first 2 years. Foreigner shark shit on the bottom of the oceans. You're learning a new language. You don't even have your own name. You can't come back to the United States for the first 3 years. You can't leave France unless it's on a official passport under your fake name and you're operating for France. So there's a lot of stuff to really consider. Like if you got kids, I would say it's almost a no-go. It's not like normal military. The pay's shit. You're in a different country. You're not having time off. You're not flying your family out there. It's just, it's a single man's game. And if you are getting out of prison or something and you want to go serve, you need some time to burn and figure some shit out like I did. That's really what I wanted. I wanted to do something I would be proud of, was interesting, and I needed some time to burn so I could figure myself out, still figure myself out, but figure some things out and just burn some karmic debt off, dude. I have to burn some karmic debt. You need some karmic debt to burn off. It's a good fucking place.
Yeah, you pretty much got to be like solo, man. That's like when I was at this, I started hanging out with like the Banditos, man, and I was hanging out with them. And I was pretty lost in the sauce for a while. And he was like, and I was like, oh man, how do you, I was like bumping him for like, how do you prospect it? That's crazy stuff. Because every man's he's got to rescue the princess. He's got to fight some type of battle. Doesn't mean he connect war, could be on Wall Street, whatever. And he's got to go on some kind of adventure. Yeah. And so I was always looking for that next adventure.
And you also want a tribe. We're very tribal, and we want that connectivity to some larger organization to have some validation. It's like part of it.
Yeah, I got to be part of a tribe. I remember getting him to the corner. He had been hit by a semi on his truck, so he walked with a terrible limp right there. He always carried a knife, always was, pulling out a bottle of whiskey at the bar in his boot. These guys were like pretty hard as nails. And I remember saying that, kind of bumped him. He looked at me and he was like, hey, man. He grabbed me, he goes, hey, unless you ain't got nothing else going in this life.
Yeah.
Then you do something else. Don't ever ask me that again. Yeah. Like you looked at it, like cold, dead look like that. And so you got to be really careful, like what you get into and like what you commit to. And like, I mean, yeah, if you're super down and out, like I was on the run.
Yeah.
In Thailand. And I called you, like, TCAP, I don't know what to do. Let me know. What's up with this French Foreign Legion? And you were like, dude.
Yeah, dude, because, well, it would have been a good idea, I think, at the moment, but I'm glad how it transpired because it's obviously come to fruition, a better decision. But I hit Jimmy up, and I was just coming out of Legion selection. So I had been off the grid, dude, for like 5 months probably. And motherfuckers thought I died. Like a lot of people thought I was just like in it. And a lot of us know when your friends or people go black and go dark, dude, it's usually not a good thing. And I was but this actually was a good thing. I was dark before because I was in a suicidal state before I left.
Yeah.
And then I went fully dark because I just didn't have a phone. So like fully dark, you're completely cut from comms. And then I got a phone back up and got some things going in France. And I hit Jimmy up and I'm like, hey, here's the deal, bro. I've been in the Foreign Legion. I've just passed selection. Here's what's going on. Here's where I'm at. And you were like, damn, dude, what up, bro? Like,
yeah,
this. So,
and I was like, I kind of wanted proof. I mean, you're a man of your word, but I was like, you went to the French Foreign Legion? Because we met in Hawaii. I was going to Colombia to do Mercer. I was just on the run.
Yeah.
And then we departed. The last time I saw you was in Hawaii.
Yeah. I dropped you off at the airport.
That was
right. I dropped you off at the airport.
You remember me? You remember picking me up? What happened?
Yeah, I gave you a couple Adderall, gave you a pumpkin, and then we dropped you off at the airport.
I was like, yo, man, let's go beyond the cottage box.
So I was on the Big Island, and I was in kind of like a bad way. I was like, he hit me up. He's like, I need a little time, dude. I got the feds after me, whatever. And he goes,
I need you to pick me up.
I say, all right. I bought his ticket just so we wouldn't buy it. And so he flies there. That pays me back, obviously. But he goes, I pick him up from the airport, but dude, I'm like 2 hours late. I'm like an hour and a half late or something because I'm just not tracking on time, taking too much Adderall, just being I'm on the other side of the ice.
So you can imagine me, like I'm like, dude, okay, TCAP's gonna pick me up at the airport. And, I'm on the run. I mean, because the FBI had just called me. The FBI had called me. They said, hey, Jimmy, why don't you come down and come talk to us? And I said, yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely. I said, where are you guys at? They said, we're at the field office here, and we'd like to see you. We'll get you tickets. I said, yeah, please, shoot. Go ahead and buy me tickets, and I'll be right there. And they were like, okay, well, I'll be right there. And I was like, TCAP. I was like, I need you to buy me a ticket right now, bro, to Hawaii.
And that was a wild time, dude, because I was having like a spiritual awakening or something at that time. Or I was losing my mind or gaining it. I don't know what the fuck was going on, but for that section of time, that like month or 3 weeks, dude, I was having all these trippy connections with the Bible and like the book of Enoch and all these things. I didn't know anything about this stuff, but I was just I was writing stuff down I was going fucking crazy, I think, or just like really I knew there was like a powerful transition about to happen, and it did. Then he picks me up and we're like meeting people, and like, remember we traveled around the island, and then some chicks showed us these different places of like where the volcanoes are going, and it's giving us DMT. And I was like, what the fuck's going on?
We're smoking DMT.
Yeah, bro, we were smoking DMT, dude. And then with them, and I'm going, damn, dude. And all this stuff was happening. Now, mind you, my life's kind of falling apart because I'm kind of getting cut off. And then we just have kind of it's time. And this was about a week. And then I drop you back off. And from that drop off at the airport, I drove down to the jungle. And I looked at my bank account, looked at all my shit, and it was like ravaged. You know, I was just $6 in my bank account and probably negative. Oh, man, I had a sawed-off shotgun, DMT, my bottle of vodka, and I just parked my truck because I was like, I need to figure some shit out. I wait for that phone call. You know how the phone call always comes at the 11th hour, or like something comes, the opportunity comes. I'm like, all right, let me just wait. And radio silence for days. And so then I'm just having those suicidal talks, like not sad, but tired. And guys that have been in that state a lot. And as I've been talking about this more, I've learned that it's very common for men. We go to these, lots of expected of us, man. And especially because men, we have a lot of tumultuous shit that pulls us in different directions. And we're still fighting through desire, lust, all these things. And we get wrapped up in it if we're not super careful. But I was playing with that for this whole 3 days. And then that's the point where I had that moment of clarity where I think God just called me a pussy and kind of sack up. And I was like, well, if I'm going to die, I'm going to do it with my boots on. So then I arranged my shit and went to France from that time after we saw each other.
Yeah. And it's, never glorifying like the party and stuff, but it's super important to be raw and real, because you see a lot of people, you see a lot of guys out there with the mask on still, and they're like, I never had a problem, or I had this couple problems and now I got it all squared away. Dude, no, it's a everyday freaking battle.
Reflection is not glorification. And I think that's an important piece. Like guys will be like, bro, a lot of that stuff, pleasure-driven shit, it takes us off our path. Yeah. And it's something that I still have to fucking contend with and still have to be mindful of. And even if the karmic violations are smaller than what they used to be, bro, I get blasted if I step out of line a little bit. I mean, I just get absolutely hammered with, emotional guilt, things like that, where I'm like, it's not who I want to be. And so as we get older, I think that we get a little bit wiser. Some never really learn, but it's this constant process of, who do you really want to be and what's actually aligned with the outcomes you want? Yeah. Because, spending money you shouldn't be spending, hanging around people you shouldn't be hanging around, doing things you shouldn't be doing. All that is taking you off into this dark path of friction. And what happens? We got massive damage control. We ruin relationships. We ruin our own soul in the process. And it's like, dude, why? And that's something we all have to contend with. And Jimmy and I talk about it, in direct, about, still being very mindful of that stuff, because it's so easy to break it down. And it's so hard to build it up.
Yeah,
dude. So hard.
Yeah, you're just a decision away. And like you said, I think that if the gaps are bigger, all right, if you're falling down every freaking day, you've got to like look yourself in the mirror. You got to do a self-evaluation, self-inventory, be like, all right, what is going on with me? And going back to us in Hawaii, I split off. You went to the Legion. Yeah. I flew straight to Colombia. I literally like took a map with Colombia on it, and did the old like, yeah, I'm going here, and I picked Medellin. Just like my girl, when I met my girl, I was like, baby, this is destiny. I took a globe one time, true story, but I spun it. I said, this is where my girl's gonna be from, and I hit it. It was Russia, and she looked at me. She goes, "Are you stupid?" And I said, "Yeah, sorta." It's just like Russia covers like most of the globe. Man, what's up? What's up, dog? And so So anyways, man, I went to Colombia, and man, I just was on I was basically on a death wish, man. Yeah, I automatically met this girl. You know, we were doing coke and, you know, all kinds of stuff. And just a wreck, bro. Yeah, just an absolute wreck, man. Some people, I got a question here from the audience. They said, you know, what do you do when you're like feel lost? Yeah, you know. And I thought about that deep and hard. It's like you stop running. Yeah, you know, you stop running because if you're lost, you're running from something. Yeah, oh, you're running from yourself.
Yeah. Also, if you're lost in the woods, what should you do? You fucking stop. Don't keep going, right? Because it's like, don't keep going, especially if you don't know where you're going, because you're just going to get more lost. And so figure out where you're at. That would be my answer to that is, if you don't know where you are, you don't know where you need to go. And so simplify, streamline, stop fucking everything. That's like my first go-to is just absolutely cut away people, places, and things, reset your day, and then build it back up correctly. Because we all fall off the fucking horse, man.
Yeah.
And when you do fall off the horse, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
And you know that, hey, get back on the horse. No, the thrill, bro. Get back on the horse and now ride it a little bit smarter. And then you're going to fall off again. Now ride it a little bit smarter, right? A little bit better, a little bit more skill. And it fucking, some people like you and me, dude, it still takes a long time, bro. And it's learning that hard way, man.
Yeah. And we're going to get into like have Jimmy and TCAV slip, you know, recently or the last couple years, you know, we're going to go into a lot of different stuff, man. And so everybody stay tuned for our next show. Don't forget, if you're not on TRT right now, or if you want to get on the good stuff and you're already with somebody else and you want to transition over to an awesome company, come on over to HP-TRT, and that discount code is OTH20, right?
That's it. OTH20, man.
OTH20, dog.